Hello, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar and also showing up on time. This is, I think y'all are way better than our IST, Indian Standard Time. We'll just begin in just 2 more minutes. I think a few more people are rolling in. We'll just give them 2 more minutes and then we'll begin. In the meanwhile, would love to know where all of you are joining in from. If you could let us know in the chat where you are joining us from, it'd be just nice to get to know you a little better. Sayed says he cannot hear my audio. Is that the case for everyone? Audio is okay. Thank you, Kisle. Thank you, Rasabel. Sayed, maybe do you want to check your system? I think others can hear. Awesome. I think we can get right into it. Um, Again, a very, very warm welcome to everyone. Happy Friday. All right. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your Friday learning about this super important topic of sustainability, right? And a new perspective to it, right? The perspective of collaboration from none other than Mr. Navinder Narang. So I will quickly start by introducing Sir. Um, sir, welcome to our webinar. So Mr. Navinder Narang is a distinguished ESG professional with over 14 years of experience in ESG and sustainability, as well as 21 years of experience in the years of service in the Indian Army. He is currently serving as the head of infrastructure facilities and ESG at one of the country's largest BFSI company. Mr. Navinder sir has led ESG strategies and initiatives, driving impactful change and fostering a culture of sustainability at an organizational level. His leadership has significantly strengthened the company's commitment to environmental responsibility, aligning with some of the world's best practices. And today we're so excited for this conversation as he brings in his wealth of experience and insights. And we're extremely excited to learn from him. Thank you so much for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Arushi, and a warm welcome to everybody. I think when we were navigating the whole thing, I chose to, speak on this part of sustainability, which is collaboration,
Yeah.
which is the need of the hour. And I think many of you would get some new perspectives today. And it's a learning phase and it's a learning journey. And I'm also learning along the way because this is what the power of collaboration is all about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. So first question, let's take you back to where it started, right? What inspired you to focus on sustainability as a key area of your career, right? And I think you've already touched upon this word collaboration, and tell us, like, through this journey, how has collaboration shaped your journey or played a important part in it?
Well, Arushi, I was very lucky to have joined the Indian Army, and not many would understand that the Army also plays a huge role on your understanding sustainability as a topic. Because unknowingly, you are thrust into the far flung areas, into the jungles, into the mountainous terrain, into the deserts, into the riverine terrain. So you have seen it all. And over the years, you keep seeing how the population changes, how the increase in environmental hazards which are taking place are affecting the whole environment. So over the phases and being serving in the army for 21 years, it was a long time to see how these changes have affected. So that was a great learning for me personally. And beyond the army, well, I can say in the childhood, I used to go to places like Dehradun or somewhere, and the route we used to watch mango orchards uh, like shaping up along the route. So as years went by, when I recently, in the years pass through those routes again, I could hardly, see those. They were so uh, overwhelmed with the urban infrastructure that one could not, place them any longer. So, and also after joining the corporate, when I joined as initially as head facilities and infrastructure. So the kind of strain the uh, corporate economy does on the environment, that became a big revelation for me. So that also introduced some thoughts of trying to shape up this collaboration. So the collaboration word is not new to somebody who's been in the army, because always teamwork happening, whether it was doing some population control measures or helping out making bridges for the population. So all these things came in handy, and you were always in touch with what's happening on the ground. And in the corporate, when you are doing things like creating infrastructure for the employees, you are always aware about the strain of these uh, material on the environment, and you're trying to reduce the strain by going for green material, green procurement, and also the supply chain. So all these things, make you kind of understand the importance of collaboration, and how it can effectively reduce the burden of sustainability around you.
Got it. Thank you so much. And I think just kind of picking up on that thread, right? Why is collaboration necessary, right, for ensuring sustainability in general?
Yeah. So this is very, very important. Collaboration is not only it brings in a lot of teamwork and group behavior into a problem. And unfortunately, sustainability and the way the things are shaping up over the last few years have brought out this urgency for collaboration. Explain you how. Over the last 1,000 years earlier, the amount of temperature increase has still been lesser than what has happened over the last 100 years. The number of species which are reducing in number have gone up to 100 and 1,000 times. So every day today, effectively 300 species are going extinct. The polar region, the polar crust is reduced to a level where the polar bears don't have the ice on their feet to survive. The plankton in the oceans is reducing. The forests are reducing in number. You will be surprised to know the Amazon forest, the forest with the highest biodiversity, has come to a level, if no effective changes are taken immediately, it will almost transform into a savanna forest. So that is the urgency which is required. And I also take a minute to explain uh, a terminology which everybody should understand called penarchy. Now, penarchy is spelled as Panarchy. And penarchy is a framework. Penarchy is the framework to understand how the systems function. So it has got four phases. First is the growth phase, called the R phase. When growth happens in the environment or in the economy or wherever. So take your mind back to when economy started developing. This growth phase was accompanied by starting using the environment, starting using the forests, the natural resources. So till that time it is controlled, not a problem. The next phase is the conservation phase, when things start becoming more conserved, more permanent in nature. The cities started forming up, the economy started behaving more maturely. That's the time when industry started developing, and your dependency on natural resources started increasing. The third phase is the collapse phase. Now, this is something which is very, very dangerous. Now, because of over using the environment, we have crept into this phase where the whole systems around us are started showing signs of collapse. There are some things which have already collapsed, like the coral reefs, certain forests I told you about, and the polar ice sheets. There are some things which are about to collapse. There's the climate, the temperature, the air, biodiversity, and the ocean health. Now, unless actions are taken to swiftly turn them around, we have two possibilities. One is uncontrolled collapse, where the action is slow or half hearted, or we can go to a regenerative future, adaptive reorganization, where the action is happening now at scale. And you redirect this collapse into the fourth phase, which is called reorganization or the alpha phase. The collapse phase is called the pi phase, and the reorganization phase called the alpha phase. So we have to quickly reorganize ourselves, and the only way to reorganize is to collaborate. I hope I'm making this idea of collaboration very clear.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, no, so you can continue. I'll wait. I think you can continue.
Okay. So you have three ways to attend to this collapse, or you can say collaboration. One is through human interaction. So you have human interaction increasing within the organizations, across boundaries. Then you have resilient mechanisms happening. One mechanism is the ESG. Now, if the choice is either to just adopt ESG for the namesake or really work at it in the manner that it ought to be in the overall context, which I just explained. And the third aspect is systemic adoption. So, adoption is not only one organization, it has to be community based, government based, and organization based. So, all three aspects, all the players of collaboration, that is the communities, the government, and the organizations, have to step up together. Thank you.
Agreed, sir. Absolutely. Sir, I think you're just extending on that, right? What are maybe certain ways or any frameworks that you've seen implemented, or just basically how can this happen, right? You talked about collaboration between communities and corporates and the government, right? Completely agreed with that, but would love to hear your thoughts on how that can come about.
Okay, so let's take businesses first. Now, businesses are happening as a matter of fact, as the usual course, what is running already. But what needs to be redefined is you have to drive innovation in a more purposeful manner. I would say invest in green technologies and integrate ESG principles into your own functioning. Now, ESG is not an element only to be held together by the ESG team in an organization, or only the top hierarchy. It has to be created as a culture. So unless you do that, your understanding and your implementation of those practices will not happen holistically. So, and also when you drive innovation, you see what's possible within the realm of things to turn around, and that is where your collaborative um, power or the collaborative behavior comes into play, to take into account your partners, your stakeholders, your upstream, your downstream, and then collectively drive things forward. So I would say one big change which can happen in businesses is um, drive the thing from the very top and drive it with a sense of urgency as you would drive it towards your targets. Because believe you me, we have just about 10, 20 more years to prove this. If we fail together. But if we succeed, I think we'll be doing a great service to the next generation. Coming to the governments, now the governments are started doing something now, but I do not know whether this would be enough or this would require more effort. Because when you establish policies, you have to see who all are participating in those policies. And it should not be only for those who are able to invest or gain, material benefits out of it. It also has to do with a lot of social benefits, lot of outcomes which don't probably have a return on investment, but the return on future would be definitely there. So from return on investment to the return of future, that behavior has to be adopted. So governments need to display that and also create the same benchmarks or the compliance value in whatever directions, in whatever uh, propositions they take out, the projects they take out for the public, in consonance with the partnerships with the private or otherwise. Also, development of green infrastructure and international agreements, they should be thought of, because what is not enabling true collaboration is the boundaries and the borders. So when you drive collaboration, governments have to think beyond boundaries and create protocols, create organizations, create communities along with the other nations. The third part, that the communities, we sometimes in the advent of our development, we leave behind indigenous populations and they become neglected. However, we should keep in mind that the environment or the ecosystem has been thriving of thousands of years because of these indigenous populations. So it's a wealth of information and knowledge, which is traditional knowledge, which needs to be given that kind of a currency and importance and converted into usable practices. Along with that, engage in grassroots movements, encourage them. Sometimes what happens is, even at the ground level, at the community level, you identify certain innovations, small innovations and small behaviors, which can be scaled up and that can have dramatic effect. But what prevents those small initiatives from scaling up is probably lack of knowledge in the local communities, lack of support, financial or otherwise, and lack of, a system to scale the whole thing up. So governments can, come into this play to help communities. Communities should also, this is the time to hold governments and business accountable through actions and their, certain policies that they can influence on this. So this is what I thought is important on the fronts of these communities, governments, and businesses.
Got it. And so, I mean, if you think about businesses, right, they are, I think successful businesses just focus on creating shareholder value, right? And I think that to do something really well, they're really focused on that particular goal, right? And that kind of sometimes makes them think in silos, work in silos, right? That's just about that me, I, and myself mentality, right? Of course, keeping like one sharp eye on the competition, right? But still kind of just operating in the realm to maximize what is best for the organization. For corporates to be able to just cooperate with governments and communities with an open mind, it does require,
Yeah,
right? So how should corporates be thinking about that piece?
yeah. In fact, one very good thought came to my mind. I must include this here. You see, the whole thing which drives silos behavior is competition and targets and giving them very limited scopes to think on. So somewhere the organization from the very top have to create this culture of openness and drive the thought that sustainability is not only competition now. It's no longer a competition. It's a collective mission. So if the same thought is brought out and the teams, departments, or subparts of the organizations, of the group of organizations, forced to think or forced to readapt and rethink and reinvent their practices and their approaches towards the problems at hand. I think this will be the first step to do this. So the goals have to be shared goals rather than individual goals for those silos. and they must be aligned to the not to the local requirements, but even to the extent of aligning with the global sustainability frameworks. So if that kind of approach is done, I think it will really lead to a big change. Another thing is organizations have been used to performing within their own coteries. Like if there are five organizations of a similar type on the same in the same catchment or the same geography, time has come for certain areas to get imbibed as a collective approach or collective thinking. So here is where cross sector collaboration must happen towards a common cause. For example, if uh, an area in an urban catchment is available for kind of a limited forestation drive, it may be difficult for any one corporate to come in and lend all the support. But what if 5 or 10 such companies get together and adopt that area along with the population, along with the whole scenario, and build a cohesive approach, of course, with maybe with government support, maybe with local municipality support. You see how fast the change would be happening rather than allowing only a particular area to or a particular company or an organization to do things. An example is there in Mumbai, where my office is here. So you have the Mithi River flowing, which is in a very very bad state. I can assure you, it's a matter of maybe max 1 year where you would see substantial change happening. Similarly, you have public-private partnerships, which are generally not seen at corporate level, which are seen only at government level. Government drives it, it happens. How about introducing a change wherein corporate drives public-private partnerships? Why can't it be done other way around? So you have to identify a proper cause, connect it to a bigger project, and take it to the government with a proposal. And I'm sure somebody will see the light of the day. Along with it, you should build open innovation platforms for knowledge sharing and co-creation, and allow employees to, also openly participate in such kind of groups. Things like LinkedIn itself are a huge, driver for this kind of a change. When you adopt certain group thinking or certain open innovation kind of thinking platforms, it can happen a lot. Also, it's time to adopt the circular economy principles of reusing, recycling, regenerating at all levels. I'm sure everybody is dealing with some kind of material, either in upstream or downstream or as a secondary emission. So you have to get into such behavior which can drive your circular economy better and leverage AI driven impacts. You can, technology has to be used very wisely and very purposefully now. And the last, I would say, sustainability collaborations happening should be incentivized. You should have champions coming in the organizations who are advocating these causes. Identify talent which can drive these things better, and create a kind of a best practice in your companies through these things. And also, I for you target for impact investments wherever you identify these requirements. I think that will be a nice way to create sustainability ecosystems by breaking the silos.
So thank you. I actually have a very interesting question in my chat now that I think just pulling back to your Indian Army experience, right? I think that is very interesting that you have to make people get out of their silos and collaborate for a bigger mission right? Like much bigger for themselves, right? And representing the whole country, if I may, right? Can you think of any examples, right, in which certain trainings that you got, or certain situations that you were in, wherein you had to step out, off like a particular silo, or someone else had to step out of their silo and actually do something, through collaboration?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Plenty of examples. The first one which comes to our mind is, see, when the army units have to uh, relocate. So you relocate not as an individual, you relocate as the whole battalion or the regiment.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something which is not fathomable to a regular person or
Yeah.
normal civilian, is that the whole regiment is loaded on a military special train.
Okay.
So one full train with full of your army load,
Hmm.
your vehicles, your guns, your ammunition, your beddings of your jawans. The jawans are compartmentalized into each bogie. Now, what all collaboration needs to be done? Firstly, you got to reach your destination as per the schedule. Now, here is one military special train which is running along with all the other trains on the same line,
Hmm.
mind you.
Hmm.
And this is an extra burden on that same line because this has to be accommodated.
Right.
And mind you, the same thing happens when the army goes for war.
Hmm.
At that time, probably the other trains are deprioritized, and all these army military trains are prioritized. However, in this case of what I'm mentioning,
Hmm.
the prioritization was not done. We have to go along with the whole schedule of the Indian Railways,
Yeah.
yet reach our destination in time. So the first collaboration with the is each railway station
Right.
and each railway block or the area level administrator. The next collaboration is for the meals.
Hmm.
The whole lot of train, we cannot depend on the railway kiosks to feed us. So we have
Hmm.
to create our own system of rationing and whole system of having a kitchen on the move
Hmm.
and entire thing being done on the go.
Hmm.
So we have just about 1 hour, 1 hour breaks in between, pre-scheduled breaks
Hmm.
where the train stops, halts, the food is distributed, and everything is got together. And mind you, it's like a kitchen community. The next meal starts thereafter. The next meal preparation starts immediately thereafter.
Hmm.
And along with the meal, you have to cater for water, drinkable water. You can't use the same water which is coming out of the railway station tanks.
Yeah.
So you have to have those berthings in stations which provide you water.
Hmm.
And once you move forward, you have to have communication system between all your bogies. So
Hmm.
what do? You do two things. One is your radio communication, which is there, but to back it up, you have to got another very formidable system. So you actually lay lines across the bogies.
Hmm.
You fit an exchange in the one of the bogies, and you fit telephones in each of the bogies.
Oh, okay.
You can actually you have those wired phones which you know
Hmm.
run the generator on the phone, and you
Yeah.
get the call ring across.
Hmm. Got it. Got it.
Then you have to have a disciplined way of functioning along the book. You cannot even allow one Jawan to go missing.
Yeah.
The system of accountability, managing, check before detraining and training, the method of entraining, detraining. At the same time, ensure discipline on the platforms.
Hmm.
Sometimes, most of the time, you are alighting on the same platforms where other passenger trains are also doing.
Hmm.
So ensure that the code of conduct is maintained. At the same time, security of your material. So all the material which is there has to be guarded all the time. So these are n number of things you have to collaborate, and then when you reach the other station, you have to take care that you got to dismount your train and again get vehicles and then go to the next place where you going to in a very organized manner. So the priority of what you are loading on the train, it has to be first in last out,
Hmm. Hmm.
or the last in first out. So last thing which is loaded has to be the first thing out. So that has to be planned with a very meticulous manner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all this collaboration takes place by various elements. And then sometimes in between, you got to de-link some of the elements if they have to be left in some other place. Like our majority of our stores had to be left at another base in between. So you had to de-link from there. So you got to already cater for that kind of a whole paraphernalia functioning so that then nothing gets disturbed along your time plan.
Hmm.
So this is one area. Other areas are so many things where you have to take control of some emergency situation, floods happening. Now that is another area where you can, you see a lot of collaborations happening with the civil administration. So I think that really is an amazing experience to experience collaboration at such a big scale.
Yeah. So very interesting, very interesting. I think for most people like us, we don't know what really goes in for such high criticality missions, right? So this was very fascinating to hear. I'll maybe ask you more stories towards the end if we have time, right? But I think today now let's bring back the topic that we're all here for, which is sustainability. So I think earlier you were talking about how technology can also really aid a lot of collaboration, right? So would love to hear from your perspective, basis your experience, just running sustainability at such a large organization, and also through your experience, right? How does technology play a big role? Right. And in what ways does it aid companies meeting their sustainability goals, if I may?
Okay, so technology is definitely a force multiplier and an enabler in the whole scheme of things, which everybody knows today. So there's not another thing which people don't know. But how well you can introduce it depends upon what stage of growth your company is and what needs to be done on priority. For example, I can tell you when I was raising uh, my company about six years back. So we had an opportunity to redesign our infrastructure. So that was the first time we rethought, and this is a cue for others also. Whenever a major shift takes place in your organization, that's the opportunity for you to rethink and redesign your infrastructure, your equipment profile. So one thing we did was we did away with regular UPS batteries. Well, that undertook a lot of space in our branches and a lot of inefficiency in the batteries itself. So we were the first ones in the industry to take up lithium ion batteries in that era. It was around 2017, 18. So we were the first ones, and we took it from a very renowned vendor who could support us by innovating that product for us. And luckily, it succeeded a lot, and we created a benchmark in the industry. And now I'm sure a lot of companies are following suit. Similarly, you have things like adopting some softwares and improving them as per the requirement of your company. So, like we have energy saving modules in our software, which is wonderfully shaping up. We have now vendors providing us with direct billing to the electricity providers, and also ensuring the all the energy choke points or the blocks are identified for analytics. You have IoT happening in a major way in industries, which can really go a long way, not only to reduce your electricity expense or become more efficient, also to identify wastages, whether it be wastages in occupation of workstations or wastages in usage of material. So a lot of things happen if you really do a good IoT design, which can give you real time data on the environmental metrics. You can also have AI now. Although a lot of companies these are confused about AI adoption, because AI adoption does have its ramifications and risks as far as the customer point or the customer touch point is concerned, especially for NBFCs and financial companies. However, in the back end or the internal organization systems, adopting AI will make the decision making much faster and also help you monitor your environmental metrics better. You can do predictive analytics for climate risk assessment and your ESG also. Blockchain is another wonderful way to go ahead that will also cater for reducing the risks of data leakage and using wrong analytics. So it gives you truthful reporting. So blockchain, although people confuse it with cryptocurrency, if you think of carbon as a currency in a negative currency way, so maybe then you can understand how blockchain will perform. And that helps to keep ESG very transparent, and it also can connect in an ESG grid. So this grid which I'm talking about is nothing but integrating the ESG performance of companies and creating a huge grid at the national level. Well, the entire things gets transformed into into carbon emissions, and the whole matrix can be then, it becomes a microcosm to a macrocosm. So entire chain gets very clearly identified, and a very truthful kind of a report can be generated. Also, digital finance in terms of fintech getting supported or green measures getting supported by sustainable investments can be the future. And crowdsourcing platforms can be created to drive community driven sustainability projects, where you alone cannot participate, but maybe a number of companies can participate, or maybe communities, governments, companies, all three can participate. So today's technology has got all the means to do that. But the point is, how do you identify which technology is suited for what? And first, how do you identify which projects have to be taken up first? That is the whole thing. In this, a lot of companies sometimes go wrong in the ESG evaluation itself. They do a very micro or a standalone kind of an evaluation. But if you really connect it to the actual outcomes on ground, you will slowly see everything is leading towards biodiversity or towards climate, or maybe if you are in that stream of functioning, maybe towards ocean health. So these three things have to be taken on priority. Why biodiversity? I'll explain to you. You know, uh, very interesting experiment happened by itself after the Chernobyl nuclear accident. So after that accident, the whole place was evacuated, and there was not a soul. However, the scientists were pleasantly surprised that after 15 years of that accident, today the rest of the biodiversity has come back. So sometimes you just need to leave things to their own without disturbing them more and allow them to regenerate. To make that happen, you don't always need an accident. You can do it deliberately. So that's what I'm trying to invoke this thought amongst everybody.
Got it. I think a similar thing even happened during COVID, right? Like, I don't know if it was Thailand or Indonesia where a lot of monkeys kind of came to the streets because the streets were empty, right?
Yeah.
Even across India, I don't recall where exactly now, but certain animals were kind of were just kind of roaming freely on the street because the streets were almost entirely empty, right? So yeah, that's something that we saw in our
Yeah,
lifetime.
not only animals, Arushi. It was also the environment in terms of the air. If you remember, we used to see photographs during COVID time where the Himalayan ranges were visible
Oh
from
yeah,
places in Jalandhar and Ludhiana.
yeah, yeah,
Which was never ever seen by the generation.
yeah.
So all those things are there. You have to only allow yourselves to see the vision and take certain actions towards it.
Yeah. So now I think same, right? Like things like collaboration, right? It has a lot of moving parts and it has a lot of elements to it, right? Of course, the collaborators themselves are one element, right? Trust with each other is another element, etc. Right? What is the one element that is the most important, right? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you this question, right? A lot of us here are Like I think sustainability teams or a sustainability professional, like one key skill set that they all need to have is, if I may, the art of collaboration, right? Because they have to collaborate with the finance team for finance information, for the finance data, finance metrics, operations team, HR team, legal team, so on and so forth, right? So same, right? They have to kind of like collaboration just has to come naturally to them, right? So as a sustainability professional, I love to get your advice that what is this, like, a, how do I learn how to be a better collaborator, right? And secondly, what's like that one element of collaboration that I should kind of hold in the most importance?
Wonderful question, Arushi. And I'll like to give a very thoughtful and an emotional reply to this one, not something off the books. So, the first thing is to realize that you are a very, very small element of the whole universe. You are, if you really look at the scheme of things, I'm seeing, everybody has gone through those mails or through those photographs where you were slowly zooming out of the Earth and seeing the planets as they zoom out further and seeing the galaxies as they zoom out further. And then you realize you're nothing in this universe. Yet, the universe is happening. You know, Another thing which I want everybody to think about is the butterfly effect. What is the butterfly effect? The butterfly effect is that, okay, I'll tell you the origin of this word butterfly effect. In Europe, uh, there's some place near Greece. I don't know the place, but definitely that's a hotbed of butterflies. So they found that sometimes these butterflies were showing a changed behavior, or they were creating a movement path which was a different path, and they connected that movement behavior or the dynamics of these energies being transmitted to typhoons happening in Brazil. So the interconnectedness of things is so huge and so unfathomable for us that sometimes we don't realize it. We don't realize that how shaping agriculture has led to huge biodiversity loss in this universe, which is affecting a whole lot of species. We sometimes don't realize how a small action in creating urban population is affecting the whole land masses and also the living organisms. We've seen the small, outcomes of such actions. If you have heard stories, you find elephants walking into urban settlements. You find certain snakes being found in settlements. All this is the result of us doing something without proper thought to it. So what I would ask everyone is to adopt a systems thinking approach. When you do something, just give a thought. How is it affecting everybody around you or around that place or around that project which is happening? So that itself will give you a lot of thought how to approach it better. Supposing you are creating an infrastructure where generator sets are required or something is required, how does that impact the environment around you? If a developer is creating a township, is he catering for rainwater harvesting also? I'll give you a very, very interesting thing. Over the last year, we identified, we are also, our company is into, mortgage, and we give home loans. And uh, one aspect which always brought to my mind was we're giving home loans for people to stay in those buildings. But who is ensuring whether those buildings themselves are sustainable or not? See, that the person is taking home loan from you, but at the end, he is going to live there. So, somewhere, are you also accountable to see whether those buildings are really going to give him that lifetime of value? For example, if everybody understands this, there's huge water problem going to be happening in the coming years. The water table is decreasing at a very, very fast pace in India. So majority of these projects are happening not majority, I'm sorry, many of these projects are happening in places with already a low water table. Is somebody seeing into it? Or you will be leaving those residents in a state of mercy after a few years. So we came across a vendor, I'll not name that, but somebody who started specializing in understanding the water table better. Now, if this consultant is used in tandem with those development projects to see which areas are more suited for creating those kind of infrastructure and how they can be shaped better to allow the water table to keep recharging, isn't that a better idea? So what if some extra investment has to be taken, into consideration? You can have certain scenarios around it build some green investment over it, and ensure that the project is still sustainable, still viable, yet the outcomes are much better. So circular economy models have to be created, which close the waste and the resource loops. So you cannot allow wastage to keep happening as they've been happening earlier. You cannot say just because India's per capita carbon emission is still lesser that India doesn't owe a responsibility to the world. You have to integrate collaboration through businesses, policy makers, community. And also you to ensure that you don't lose sight of the community requirements and ensure localized and culturally relevant solutions to the whole thing. This can only come about if your approach is towards systems thinking.
Yeah.
That's all.
Got it, sir. Sir, so I think this was superb perspective on external collaboration, right? I'd also love to get your thoughts on internal collaboration, right? Like within an organization, right? For me as a sustainability professional, when I'm kind of talking to various teams, right, trying to see, because what happens is that sustainability is my full-time job, right, and in the organization, say I'm getting paid for it, but I'm talking to operations folks, admin folks, right, etc., for whom it's not their full-time job, right, for them to kind of provide me data and updates on the key metrics, etc., is kind of additional for them, right? Like how do I foster that collaboration within them, right? I think you touched upon this earlier, that you talked about how top-down implementation of sustainability is very, very important, right? So I think that's something comes to mind, but would love for you to elaborate on some of these things a little more.
Yeah, yeah. So when we were driving ESG in the first year, we had similar problems. How to drive it? So it has to be a multi-pronged approach. While it starts with the top-down approach, the first person to buy in has to be the top leadership, and they have to change their communication to include this aspect in every communication that they do. It is no longer and only a feel good part of their conversation. It has to be an essential part of the conversation, and the directives to be created in a way that the policies are created, the company's green policy or the ESG policy has to be created with a lot of practicality. At the starting only, the ESG team or the consultant or whoever, a vendor, they have to be co-opted with each and every team head, and the alignment has to take place at that level. The practicality has to flow from the ESG policy or the draft regulations to incorporate the vision of the company with the mission of that particular vertical. And wherever responsibility lies, even if in a very seemingly insignificant manner, it has to be driven in a very effective approach or with a very effective kind of a uh, creation of those KPIs and targets. Only when this is done, it will come to an implementation level. Now, the story doesn't end here. People will still feel that it's been thrust upon them. So you have to drive this behavior indirectly creating awareness. Now, the awareness creation is very important through mailers, through regular exchanges, probably keeping even a sustainability blog in the company where it directly relates to what your company is doing and what's happening in the environment, and create scenarios, create good success stories, create project possibilities around the whole thing, and such awareness will further shape the employee behavior. Also, when you recruit employees, I think certain amount of weightage should be given to identify talent, which also emphasizes such behavior already. uh, Doing all this, and also then you have things like even internships happening. Rather than getting interns only to your companies, you can outsource certain projects to the universities and employ those students while they're studying into projects, and then probably have a very symbiotic relationship with those universities to draw in such talent wherever that you get display of such kind of a talent, and also move beyond short-term results. Aim for long-term approach, long-term outcomes. Also, supposing if you have a distributed setup like ours, you have branches all over. So you also make those branches responsible for the little ecosystem around their branches. So that will not only create a kind of healthy feeling of giving something out, but also enlarge the scope of all the branches to, you know, include ESG or include their environmental responsibility in a much more better manner. Here, I would say I've been personally involved in a thought process which says that for transformation, you need to adopt a three circle theory. Now, this is a document which I have placed in Google also. You can just see three circle theory for transformation. So, what it says is the first circle is about the core, which is you. The second circle is about your circle of influence, that is, the people or the ecosystem around you. And the third circle, which I'm trying to emphasize now, is about the circle of contribution. So unless you complete the circle, the uh, the entire circle, entire cycle doesn't get completed. So your circle of contribution here is towards contributing towards the environment. And if you complete this circle, the transformation of your company would be complete, I would say. That's what I have to add right now. Thank you.
Got it. And I think even Priya put forth an amazing point that, sometimes even including sustainability related KPIs in everyone's KPI, right? Sustainability metrics included in other people's KPIs also does help drive that behavior change and
Yeah.
collaboration. Yeah, I absolutely love that. So this was amazing. I think just one last question from our end, and which is that. So for any advice for us, right? Like we're I think lots of us are kind of trying to use collaboration within our own careers, right? And kind of to drive sustainability, right? And I think there are also some young people here who are at the beginning of their career as well, right? Some of us are much more beyond that. Any advice on how we can become better sustainability professionals, leveraging collaboration or anything else for that matter?
Let me turn this question around. Actually, you know what? I think it's not they who need advice. I think it's people of our stage who have grown up already in the industry and who are matured to start taking their advice. And I'm not joking. Our children know better than us today as to the importance of sustainability, importance of saving water, importance of avoiding wastage. I think we need to just open our ears and eyes towards what our younger lot of employees feel, and then help them broaden their thoughts, help them create better scenarios around those thoughts, and amalgamate those things into practical suggestions where things can really happen. And one thing I would request everybody who's at the younger lot to think that nothing is impossible. You should not shy away from scaling your thoughts. At least scale your thoughts, if not your actions. Nobody's stopping you. And once you scale your thoughts, which are really, really beneficial for the environment, for the industry, for the company, I'm sure you'll find a buy-in from somebody who would want to take your thoughts to fruition. So that's a huge thing to be done. And be an influencer of your caliber. Don't shy away. Everyone has got that capability to become an influencer, even if the people who are being influenced at the other end are not necessarily on social media only. They can be in your society, in your workspace, and in your own extended family. So how you lead your lives towards this change to be brought out will determine the bigger change. As Gandhiji said, you all know that quote, I will not repeat it. And also remember, collaboration is about rethinking. It's about reducing barriers to the thing which have to happen now. And it's towards reshaping the future. So 3 R's, please remember them. Rethinking, reducing barriers, and reshaping the future. So I think with this kind of an approach, uh, what is required is en masse change of approach, change of behavior, change of expectations. I'm sure if all the younger lot who are joining the companies, they lay down the expectations from their management very clearly about environment, the change will happen much faster. Companies will be forced to adopt or readopt the behavior wherever they have not done as yet.
Right, yeah.
One major problem which is happening is, I put it out in one forum. The people on that forum who were responsible for that kind of a thing did not really like it. I'll be very frank, but it was nonetheless put across by me. What's happened is the ESG reporting has been made compulsory only for the top 500 companies. So what does it lead to? The rest of the companies, they think, oh, abhi hamare paas time hai. We have time. We need not do anything now. That has to change. What if the Ministry of Corporate Affairs or the SEBI also lay down, okay, the top 500 has to give a detailed report, but rest all other companies have to give a kind of a summary report, kind of a shortened version of the report, like what we have a simplified tax return. Give a short summary of a report as to what you have done the whole year. Okay, at least that will bring in some kind of responsibility, some kind of a thought, some kind of a, desire to change. So I think we all need to do a bit, whether we are part of the corporate, whether we are part of the government, whether we are part of the community, and everybody needs to drive this at a much faster, much more urgent uh, kind of a approach. Only then things can happen in the time that we have left with. As mind you, it's just 10 to 20 years more.
Yeah. Got it, sir. We're right on time as well. Thank you so much for your time today. This was absolutely amazing. It's actually a very new topic for us also, right? We typically, even at Oren, when we do these webinars, we have something on auto industry, pharma industry, this, that, like we get very technical, but sometimes it really helps to kind of forget all of that and go into the fundamentals of really, right, for you to implement sustainability, the very core value of collaboration is needed, and this was amazing, for all of us to learn about it. So thank you so much for your time today.
Anushi, can I have some quick reactions by the audience? It will really give me some insight as to which direction where we headed in the whole forum, and maybe get some cues for the future.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if it would be, yeah, I think, yeah, there is a react thing. Folks would love to see some reactions on in terms
There's
of.
an icon called reactions. Just see the icon and just put in your reactions if you can, guys.
I could start, yeah. Oh. Yeah, we have a heart.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Arushi.
sir. Thank you for a lovely for a lovely session today. I think we have lots of thank you in the chat as well. And again, we honestly all learned a lot. Folks, if any of you have any questions at the end of this, we're happy to collect it from you and pass it on to Sir. We'll take his feedback and write back to you. So in case something else comes up, do let us know. We're more than happy to help kind of answer your questions. Right. But thank you everyone for your time. Hope you have a beautiful weekend tomorrow onwards. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.